So let's pick up again. What about this lie here? And that is this: it's too hard. I don't have what it takes. Right. In other words, in the midst of things and building a business and building relationships and going through everyday life, the lie comes into our mind. It's too hard. I don't have what it takes. And again, my friend, the scriptures in Jeremiah 7:8, behold, you trust in lying words that cannot profit. And if you trust, remember, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Proverbs 18:21, death and life are in the power of the tongue. So again, my friend, if there's lies that we believe in, that we're literally, it's in our mind and then it comes out of our mouth, now we're locked into something that's a lie that doesn't have to be. And so it's a lie that binds us, that keeps us back. And so it's time to break through those lies. I don't know how many times throughout my life, whether in business or, in martial arts, it's just too hard. I don't have what it takes. And so, my friend, I'm telling you, that's a lie. And here's what I want you to know. You have what it takes. Now, ooh, this is good right here. You have what it takes, but it will take everything you've got. I said, you've got what it takes, but it will take everything you've got. See, my friend, when you start saying these things, when you start repeating these lies, again, my friend, it's binding you, it's holding you back. And so, my friend, I keep saying this: if God did it for somebody, He can do it for anybody. But He didn't just make you an anybody; He made you a somebody. So, if there's just one person on the earth that has done it, we know for sure it can be done. But if there's no person on the earth that's done it, if God puts it in your heart, then that means it can be done, my friend. And so, again, you've got what it takes, but it'll take everything you've got. And sometimes, again, my friend, there's a pressing period. There's an expanding period. David said, thou hast enlarged my heart. In other words, the capacity we have now may not be, it's always like, and I don't know why it is, but in life, my friend, the things that we're called to do, the things that bring the greatest joy, you don't get to it until you first get crushed. It's crazy, but that's just the way it is, my friend. And so you've got to be willing, to go through that. And so again, instead of thinking it's too hard, I just don't have what it takes. No, you got what it takes, but it will take everything you've got, my friend. And you get to the end of your rope. Somebody said, go to the end of your rope and tie a knot and hang on. But again, God will enlarge and He'll use life to enlarge your capacity. Whereas at one time there was no way you thought you could do it, and now you'll find yourself doing the very things that you thought you could never do. And I'm telling you, but you can't do it with the lies in your mind. Remember, you can't think wrong and live right. And my friend, you can't think right and live wrong. So again, it's a mind thing, but it's also a mouth thing, and it goes back to the lies. Hey, what about this one real quick? Again, lies that bind. They try to bind us to not being our best. What about this one? I guess it just wasn't meant to be. Have you ever heard that? I'm not gonna ask you if you ever said that to yourself, right? But what about this? I guess it just wasn't meant to be. Again, sometimes, man, life gets hard. Our business is hard. Or we run into barriers. We run into roadblocks, and people, man, I guess it just wasn't meant to be. No, it was meant to be. But remember, my friend, you have to learn to break through. So you've got to learn, get this now, be stronger than your excuses. See, as George Washington Carver said, if you want something bad enough, you'll find a way. And if not, any old excuse will do. Well, my friend, I'm telling you, I've said to you many times, I lived in a state of denial, denial. Don't even notice I am lying. I was lying to myself. I was in a state of denial. I'm not this. So many times I would talk myself out of things. And maybe you can remember times in your life you talked yourself out of things. I remember having Tawana Williams, the Hope coach, on the call, and her talking about how she's like, she almost talked herself out of things. And one day her husband comes home. Her husband says, I'm going to work, brother. And God told me you could draw. So draw me a picture. Now, here's a lady that's born without arms, right? She's never had a lesson in her life about drawing. All she has is feet. And she's like, well, you must be tripping because God didn't tell me that, right? And she said, and Toby was at work and he got close to coming home, and she's like, uh-oh, I better get busy, because she got to thinking he's never lied to me yet. And she started just drawing what was in front of her, like the television set, the clock, the flower, the pot of flowers, and so forth. And she said it shocked her, and said when Toby came home, she was all excited, talking about, Toby, you won't believe what I did. I drew a picture. He said, I already knew. I told you. In other words, by the way, did it ever occur to you that nothing ever occurred to God? Right? I mean, sometimes we be shocked at stuff. And so Tawana was shocked that she was able to do this, and Toby wasn't shocked because he had that faith. Watch this, my friend. And that's why you always need to be tied and connected to somebody who has faith, especially when your faith is low. So watch this, my friend. And Tawana, she, on one of the leadership calls, she said, I almost talked myself out of it. And now, by the way, several times we've spoken places together, and when she's done speaking, people buy her paintings and drawings and so forth. And as a matter of fact, I think she'll be in Houston in October with Pastor Burrell, and also for women's domestic violence, speaking against that and so forth. But again, it's so incredible. But so many times when we were together speaking, she's used that phrase, I almost talked myself out of this, and and she'll challenge the audience, and it makes you think, how many things have I talked myself out of? How many things have I, and I'm saying this, my friend, there's lies, and when we believe the lies, and then we start speaking life into the lies, and the lies bind us, and they bind us from being our best. So no, don't use the lie. Don't believe the lie. Don't embrace the lie. Don't give life to the lie. I guess it just wasn't meant to be. No, listen, be stronger than your excuses. Hey, what about this one? It's too painful. You ever heard that one? You ever said that one? You ever thought that one? It's too painful, whether in the weight room or whether in life, whether in business. It's too painful. Hey, listen, we used to say in the martial arts, no pain, no gain. Let me put it this way, my friend. I had to tell you, I think you're right. There is pain. You're partly right. And that is, there is pain involved. But the pain of regret and the pain of remorse is greater than the pain and the present hard that you may have. So the question is, pick your hard, right? I mean, life is hard, right? Business is hard. Having a job is, everything is hard. Pick your hard, right? There's no way of getting out of it. I mean, you're saying it's hard. Well, yeah, you're right. But remember, write this down. I said this before. Everything in life gets easier a long time after it's hard. Ooh, that's good right there. Can I say that again? I said everything in life gets easier. Write that down. Everything in life gets easier a long time after it's hard. So we just got to get you to get through the hard part. We just got to get ourselves to get through the hard part. I'm saying everything in life, you think about it, my friend, I'm telling you, there are things that you're now doing that used to be hard, and now it's easy. You remember first trying to ride a bike, and it seemed almost impossible, right? It's like that thing just won't stay balanced, right? Well, it wasn't the bike, it was you. but I'm saying it was hard at first, and guess what? Now you've done it, and now you can go years, even decades without riding a bike, pick it up, my friend, and just start riding again. I'm saying, listen, everything in life gets easier a long time after it's hard. The problem is we get too impatient. The problem is we start focusing on the wrong things, my friend. We start focusing on how hard something may be now, but instead of focusing on it will get easier the longer that I do this. I've told you many, many times, I don't have to go through it in detail, but speaking to me was hard. I used to see people speak, and I'd watch, and I was like, that's impossible. How do you do that? How do you know what to say? How can you keep talking like that? And especially people without notes, like that's like impossible, right? I mean, there's no way. And now that's what I've been doing for many, many decades, right? And now I get people saying that to me, and I'm like, hey, listen, I'm going to tell you something. I used to be where you are, but I'm telling you, you just got to get started. You got to get started like I got decades and decades ago, and I was terrible. But guess what, my friend? I just continued on. I'm saying everything in life gets easier a long time after it's hard. And sometimes it's that hard part and some people's longer is longer than other people, right? I mean, that's why we want mentorship, and that's why we want books and seminars and tapes and calls and things like this because we want to shorten that period, right? I don't know what your long is. I just know that everybody, I said everybody goes through the same thing. Now, again, different people have gifts and talents in the area of their gifting. It may come easier to them, but I'm telling you, in life, basically everything in life gets easier a long time after it's hard. You just have to be committed to the end process. Remember I said, don't allow the pain of the process to keep you from your promise. And then remember I said, don't allow the pace of the process rather, to keep you from your promise. So it's painful sometimes, but also the pace may be too slow for us, right? It's like we're like that caterpillar in a cocoon, like, Harry, I want to get out of here. No, it's a process. And like a baby in the womb, hey, I want to get out of here. No. It's a certain process of time. And then you can come out. But I'm saying everything in life is easy. It's easier, but it's a long time after it's hard. Hey, next thing real quick. Here's another lie. If my circumstances were different, I would be different, right? If my circumstances would be different, I would be different. No, listen. See, B.F. Skinner used to teach that years ago. You're a product of your environment. Well, that's not raw. That's not right. Why? Because you have people in the Adam and Eve were in perfect environment and messed up. It wasn't the environment, right? And then you got other folks who grew up in a terrible environment and they grew up. I mean, it's amazing to see children who are raised by good, God-fearing parents and come out like the devil, and other folks that come up in a household where the parents pay them no mind, and sometimes the parents are alcoholics or hooked on drugs, and those children come out like angels. Like, it's like, what in the world? It's just sometimes you just. But why? Because it's not that you're a product of your environment per se. It's not the outside environment. Here's what you are a product of. If you want to say you're a product of your environment, I would adjust that to say you're a product of the environment of your mind. Ooh, come on, somebody. See, there's many stories of twins and our two children come up in the same environment. One goes, way to the left. The other one goes to the right. It's like same household, same parents, same everything. What was the difference? It's the same environment. No, it's the environment of their mind. See, it's not what happens to you in life, it's how you respond to it. So it's what's going on, the environment of your mind, what's going on in your mind. That's why, again, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. That's why it's so important about your thought life. And your thought life is based on, again, on what you're thinking. But oftentimes, my friend, your thinking is influenced by what you're hearing. And that's why we want you to keep hearing these things that are challenging you, hearing these things that are encouraging you, hearing these things that will uplift you and empower you, my friend, to be all that God would have you to be. And so, again, my friend, these are lies that bind. The lies that bind us from being our best. So it's time to break free. So it's not your circumstances. It's you. Stop saying if my circumstances were different, I'd be different. No, say if you would be different, your circumstances would be different. Hey, next thing real quick. Now, here's a lie. Oh, my goodness. This is a lie that costs me dearly. Taking time to rest is wasteful. Taking time to rest is wasteful, right? Again, to some of us that have that type A driven personality, some of us that have that get up and go, right? And it's like we got to change, be part of changing the world and doing what we can do, and and all that. But I used to think that taking time to rest was wasteful, and my friend, that literally almost took me out. Why? Because I didn't understand back then. It's like one gentleman explained to me, even if you eat decent food, so forth, said if you don't give your body time to rest, it's like putting your car into a shop if it has a problem, but you pull it back out before the mechanic has time to fix it. And when we're sleeping and resting is when the body is rejuvenating itself, is when the body is rebuilding itself and preparing itself for the next day. It's when the body is taking what good nutrients you put in your body, and it's now using those things to rebuild and replenish and so forth. But if you don't rest And again, if you don't, if you do like I did years ago, and you mistakenly think if I just stay in high gear all the time, if I just never take a vacation because somebody older and wiser than I thought was, well, he weren't wise in that area. But anyway, old pastor friend, pastor that I had said I never had a vacation I hadn't had a vacation in 18 years. I'm thinking, well, he's older, he's wiser. Let me do the same thing, right? Well, no. Anyway, but here's what I'm saying. I then started understanding after I had my burnout, after I had my collapse, my friend, that no, rest. Listen, sleep is not wasteful. And I used to say stuff like, I can sleep when I get to heaven. Well, I almost went to heaven sooner, right? Because I eventually collapsed. So again, that's a lie, my friend, and you got to break through it, okay? So you don't want to be, as Jeremiah 7:8 says, ye trust in lying words that cannot profit. We want the truth that can only profit. But what about this one? Now, we're changing here, but still lie. What about this one? I've got to have a good job. Yeah, I've got to have a good job. Yeah, again, it's amazing, but all over the United States, people have been taught, go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a job, and live happily ever after. And that formula doesn't work. And people are thinking, well, I just got to get a good job. So I was talking to one of my sons, and I said, what is the purpose, by the way, of going to college? And well, so I can get a better job. Okay, and what's the purpose of having a better job? Well, so I can take better care of my financial situation and also have enough extra to bless other people. Okay, well then let's go to the end, right? Let's go to the end, and then let's start from there, because God says, he starts the beginning from the end from the beginning. So watch this. So if your end result is to be able to have enough money to take care of all your financial responsibilities and have extra left over to bless other people, well, then you're assuming that the schooling is going to give you the good job, so the good job will get you the pay. Well, what if there's a way of getting the good pay without having the job, getting the good pay without even having to go to college, right? So again, that's a lie that locks people in, and so we got people now in their 70s and 80s and going back to getting more schooling. And I'm not against you getting more the schooling and education and so forth, but I'm saying the end result is that people think they've got to have a good job, and they keep equating getting more education with a good job. And of course, my story. I'm a college professor, and I was challenged with an idea. What if you could start making more money in a month than you make an entire year? And I'm thinking, I've been to college 12 years. Regular school 12 years, college, graduate, postgraduate work 12 years. That's 24 years of my life. I'm not going back to school another day of my life. And I kept equating getting more degrees. I kept equating going to more school. And they said, no, we'll mentor you. See, there is a need for education, but it's a different kind of education. It's an empowering education, and not an education that, by the way, that's based on a bunch of lies that keep you locked into their system. And so, but when you hold on to that lie, I got to have a good job. No, you got to have good income is what you mean. And to have good income, my friend, doesn't necessitate having to have a job. And again, nothing wrong with having a job. Well, no, there's something wrong with having a job. I'll go through this again. Instead of having a job, you need to switch and have a paid internship. And a paid internship is when you now are allowing these people to pay you to learn some things and practice things that one day you'll put into practice in your own business. By the way, in the Bible, there's only two kind of people that had jobs: servants and slaves. Everybody else had a business, and they bartered their services one to another, right? So I'm a big proponent of a business, but again, the end result, what's the end result is being able to have enough financially, not just to take care of you and your responsibilities, but to be able to bless other people. Well, that doesn't mean you have to just have a good job to get there, right? And at the same token, those of us in the home-based business arena that have made money, it's not making like people have a job is like that's the worst thing you can do. No, the Bible says in all labor there's profit. Thank God for the job, but again, change it and make it a paid internship. And now, my friend, you'll probably show up early, stay late. Again, everything changed. Why? Because of your attitude. Remember, again, if my circumstances were different, I would be different. No, if you're different, your circumstances would be different. So you can be in the same situation, but change your attitude, and and the attitude is right, everything else is right. So, so I want you to think about that for a minute, because again, that's a lie that binds a lot of people, and their whole objective in life is I've got to get this good job, and oftentimes having that good job necessitates doing things against your own intentions, your own character, right? Doing things that you're pouring your energy into things and concepts and places that aren't serving you well, right? And so that's the whole issue here. All right, that's the whole issue here. Okay, real quick. So what about let's just get one more here. We'll close out here. All right. How about this one? Okay, are you ready? And that is this. Oh my goodness, should I do this? Okay, here we go. How about this? And this is in dealing with people, and that is this. I'm are they're just destined to fail, right? Sometimes people say I'm destined to fail, but dealing with people is like, well, they're just destined to fail, so there's nothing good in them, right? Especially when we're talking about a home-based business and working with other people. Which, by the way, incidentally, the whole thing of getting along with other people, they say that the number one reason why missionaries come back off the field isn't because of how hard it is, isn't because of financial situation. It's because they can't get along with the other missionaries, right? Interpersonal situations. And so in this business of a home-based business, it's dealing and working with people. But get this, my friend. But sometimes what happens is they're just destined to fail, right? There's nothing good in them. So I posted on Facebook the other day, and I close with this. Being a gold digger is often a bad terminology, right? It usually means, some woman that married some guy, some rich guy, just get his money, or vice versa, right? Or some guy that married some woman just to get their money, right? That's what we say about gold digger. But I posted on the Facebook the other day, how about being a good gold digger or a good gold finder, right? That is, find the gold in someone instead of finding the fault. It's so easy sometimes to find fault in other people. And again, some of us that are the type A driven, we find fault in ourselves. It's like, man, it's like we're never adding up. Like every little victory, like you got to judge yourself and re-examine. It's like, okay, but I could have done better. I could have, but I'm saying this. I'm saying, listen, my friend, we got this will change, and this is why I love the whole concept of what this is all about, my friend. Uplifting one another, and that is, be a good gold finder, a gold digger. Dig through the dirt, dig through the faults, dig through the failures, and find the good. Find it in yourself, find it in others. And again, my ABCD, my adorable brown car with the light. I tell people I married a good gold digger, man. She just keeps digging, saying there's more gold down in there, and I'm telling you, and I never, when we first got married, she's called me her king, and I was feeling uncomfortable at first. King, well, of course, as she called me king, I got to start calling her queen, right? And later on, I realized this woman was smart, boy. She recognized who she was. She's like, if he don't understand he's a king, I'm going to help him understand. I'm going to call him a king long enough till he recognizes it, but he going to call me a queen. And so when you're a king, you're married to a queen. Come on, somebody. But as a finding pot to silver and a furnace to gold, so is a man to his praise. And so listen, my friend, uplifting people, empowering people. Again, I say that's my motto. My mandate in life is to educate, empower, and elevate people to break through any barrier that would hinder their blessing. And I do that by empowering them to break, get this now, to break to the best version of themselves, or at least a better version. And so I know sometimes, my friends, dealing with children, especially during the teenage years, right, or dealing with some workers or some people on your team, and so it's like, man, they're destined to fail. It's like, there is no good in them. No, there is. And somebody, listen, my friend, learn to be a gold digger. Learn to find the gold and good in people instead of the bad, instead of just being a fault finder, right? It's amazing. If you look long enough, you'll probably find faults. Faults are easy to find. Why don't you dig deep enough to find the gold? Somebody said, don't look at people as bad. Look at them rather as broken. And if they're broken, they could be remended, right? And so listen, and even you yourself, and even your business, right? Even your situation. Don't look at it as bad. Look at it as broken. If it's broken, it can be remade. I think my old good friend Willie Jolly wrote a book years ago. A setback is a setup for a comeback. Come on, somebody. And so again, I got to close with this. But remember, I told you the story, and I just want to remind you. When I was a little fella, got kicked out. I was getting all kind of trouble, man. Got kicked out of about to get kicked out of public school. Mom put me in Catholic school to try to reform me, and two guys jumped on me, and I'd end up beating them up, but the nuns didn't see them hit me, jumping me. They just saw me beating them. I got kicked out of Catholic school. Man, I come home, my mom, she worked 2 jobs, and so she was asleep from working midnights, and she's like, "What are you doing here?" And man, I tell you, it was rough. She started breaking down, crying. I never seen my mom cry before, right? Mom was tough raising these boys, but anyway, and she said, "Boy, you about to drive me crazy. I don't have a man to help me. I'm doing everything I can to try to help you and your brothers, and look at what, I can't believe this. You about to drive me to an early grave." And then she stopped and she started crying. She's like, "But I know one day." She said, "One day you gonna make me proud of you, Stan Harris. I know you are. I know you are." And man, that just stuck it. And years later, after I graduated from college, which I thought I'd never finished high school, by the way, finished the top of my class in high school. By the way, never got in trouble another day in school since then. And so anyway, traveling all over and doing things, preaching martial arts, all this kind of stuff. My mom was with me. She said, "Son, I'm just proud. I'm just honored to know a man of your caliber." And I was like, "Mom, you just reaping what you sowed." She's like, "Excuse me?" I said, "Yeah, you sowed the seed. You're the one that spoke into me and said, one day I'd make you proud." And I said, when I heard you say that, I made up in my mind that I was going to do that. And I'm glad I was able to do that. But that's just the result of a seed that you planted. In other words, my friend, Mama was digging for gold. She said, "I know one day you're going to make me proud of you." So, hey, let's be diggers, gold diggers. Dig for gold in people instead of the bad in people. There's so much good and in the worst of us. There's so much bad in the best of us that it hardly behooves any of us to talk about the rest of us. So let's break through the lies to be the best that we can be. So, hey, God bless you. Go out today and make it a breakthrough day, because I believe in you.